What's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 8 of the podcast. I can't believe we are at episode 8. Like, this is really a commitment. I had one agenda for this podcast to really just help us all evolve and kind of get to a elevated state of our consciousness and just overcome a lot of the trauma and limiting beliefs and insecurities that some of us have dealt with for years, hell, decades. So to see that you guys are listening, sharing, recommending the messages y'all are sending me, thanks. It really helps to keep the momentum going. Now let's get into today's episode. Now I want to ask you this. When you think about your childhood, do you remember being told, I love you? Or do you remember being hugged, listened to, encouraged to dream, encouraged to explore? Or do you remember a parent who made sure you never went hungry, worked their fingers to the bone so you could have clothes, a roof, and maybe the opportunities that they never had? Which one do you remember? For a lot of us, the answer is complicated. Some of us grew up with a nurturing parent, others with a provider parent, and some, if they were lucky, had both. That balance or the lack of, it shapes the way we see ourselves today. It shapes the way we navigate parenting our own kids for a lot of y'all. It shapes the way how we love and how we hustle and how we burn out. It shapes the way we talk to ourselves when nobody else is listening. I wanted this episode to be about contrast. It's about understanding how we were parented and how that parenting style may still be showing up in our life and relationships that we are having right now in this present moment. And we can't even see it or aren't aware of it. Now, this episode isn't about blame or comparisons at all. It's about recognition. It's about honoring the roles as single parents that many of us grew up with have to play, the sacrifices they have to make, the situations that they have to navigate through. And it's about the importance of community and the emotional gaps that sometimes get left behind. So let's talk about those gaps. Today, we're getting a little personal into my own business a little bit more because I really want y'all to understand this concept and see how, one, we are all interconnected. A lot of us have experienced the same childhood in different areas of the world. My inner child was leading me to this episode, so bear with me. Let me take y'all back to set the scene. Now, on the outside, my childhood looked great. I had a roof over my head, food over the table, Christmas presents, all the clothes and the shoes, cable. Hell, I even had a parrot. My mother made sure I didn't need or want for anything. Honestly, she made sure that she did whatever she had to do to make it happen. See, I was the youngest of all of my other siblings. And that age gap meant they weren't really around or in the household during my childhood. So it was mainly just me and my mom. Mainly me, because she worked. My siblings were trying to survive themselves. And at that time, there was a strong sense of loneliness, that I felt. A longing to feel connected to those closest to me, like my siblings. Yet it still felt like that connection was just out of reach, This is where the void started for me and for a lot of you guys. That void of not feeling like you can directly connect with your siblings or talk to them, just about whatever you're going through. Now, I had my father in my life as well, too. But we only saw each other a few times a month, after my parents split. He struggled with alcoholism. So we didn't really build a strong bond until I got older, you know. And at that point, I'm set kind of like in my teen years, and it's not really about establishing a close bond at that point, because you already slightly feel that disconnect. Now let's take it back to my mother. Baby Cat was the one. She was my provider. She was my protector. She set the standard for how I should present myself. Always dressed to the tens, always working hard, always looking good, and smelling like Avon Skin So Soft, and the finest fragrances. You know, that was the blueprint for how to survive. That's how she was raised, and that's how she molded me. But while my physical needs were met, my emotional ones, not so much. There weren't bedtime stories. There weren't moments of sitting on the couch, talking about my day. There weren't moments of asking me how I'm feeling. That affection was rare. The attention was kind of functional, and love was something that felt like I had to earn or ask for. And over the years, I internalized that, like a lot of you guys have too. I learned that love came from obedience, presence came from my performance. Softness was a luxury that we could not afford in the hood, in many households. No one asked how I was feeling. No one said it's okay to cry or you don't have to be so strong. Because at that time, I was battling with so much internally that I had no outlet. It felt like no one understood. I had no one to talk to. And I was all alone. Now, I didn't grow up in chaos or an abusive household, but I grew up feeling like I had to earn love instead of just receiving it. And that didn't dawn on me until my late 20s. That's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to make this episode, because a lot of you guys are just like I was, navigating through life like we have to earn love, that we have to perform for love. We weren't taught that love shouldn't feel like a damn performance, that we have to jump through hoops or figure out an action plan to get, our parents to connect with us or to slow down and see what we had going on or even just validate our emotions. But again, this is where that burden of being a single parent come into play at, and how broken homes affect so much more and they hit so much deeper than a lot of us realized. Now let's break this down. The provider parent ensures survival. That's their main goal. They work, they sacrifice, they make sure the needs are met. Emotional intimacy, not always their strong suit. Now the nurturing parent, they're the ones that give you the emotional safety. They listen, they validate, they remind you that your feelings matter, that their love is unconditional. Now I also want to make this clear. Neither is more important than the other. As kids, both are needed. We need both, the nurturing parent and the provider parent. We need food and affection, safety and the softness. And yes, parents, your boys need softness too. This is why boys grow up as men and are emotionally unavailable and cold. And you wonder why you can't connect with your son, because they were never taught how to connect with you. They never had the opportunity to express themselves outside of the toxic masculinity often ingrained in them. That's another episode though. Oh no, it's coming. My mother worked hard to make it happen by any means. Like I mentioned, she made sure I had everything I needed or everything that looked like it could be checked off a checklist when it came to raising your kids. And what she kind of fell short is where the community stepped in. My community stepped in. Now, I was lucky to have my Aunt Dot, who lived right next door, during my childhood years. She became the nurturer I didn't know I needed at times. She was there when I needed the soft words, encouragement, or just someone to see me, really see me. She sit with me, talk about my feelings and introduce me to spirituality, because I had no connection to spirituality at all. Like, it wasn't discussed in my childhood. It wasn't discussed in my household. She balanced the equation where my mother kind of like fell short with the nurturing. And community like this can make all the difference, especially with single parents, because typically the mother has to wear both hats, nurturer and provider. And that's an impossible load to carry alone. Having someone in your life who can fill in the gaps doesn't take away from the parent or doesn't take away from you being an amazing mother. It simply helps a child feel fully seen and supported. And I want to let any of my parents know out there, my single parents, that feel like you're dropping the ball or, you're not being emotionally available for your child. It's okay. This is where the community steps in. Hopefully you have it and can lean on, them for support, because your child needs both. Because of my Aunt Dot, I learned that emotional connections were possible, that it was okay to feel, that my emotions mattered, that I didn't have to earn love to deserve it. I could just be me. Now, because of my mother, I learned the importance of learning how to take care of myself. I learned how to be self-sufficient and how to go after whatever I wanted. I learned how to hold my own. I learned how to survive. But there's a flip side to that survival. That same resourcefulness learned out of necessity can become a shield that you carry into every new room that you walk into as an adult. The child who learns to, make it work grows up believing their value lies in what they accomplish and how little they ask for help and in how strong they appear. Even surrounded by love, you can miss the message that you're loved for simply just being you, because you can't see it. This is why, like me and a lot of you guys, we became a hustler, a fixer, a people pleaser, because somewhere deep down, we thought if I need too much, I feel like a burden to people. And that's a belief that a lot of us are still battling with right now. The community support helped, but it didn't erase that internalized blueprint overnight that I felt, and a lot of you still feel. When the emotional safety is missing, you learn to become your own nurturer. I did it at 7, crying in the dark, wiping my tears before anyone saw, pumping myself up before school because no one asked, you good? I learned at the age of 10 to read everyone else's emotions except my own. And that trait followed me into my adulthood, attracting emotionally unavailable partners, friendships where I gave too much or too little, and jobs where I was overworked and overperformed. All because that little version of me still believed love had to be earned and safety was a reward. Imagine a kid with a mom who worked 2 jobs, fridge always full, lights always on. But when that kid came home from school wanting to talk, mom wasn't there or was too tired to be present. That kid learns early expressing your emotions and being vulnerable aren't important. Or imagine a kid with a mom who was loving and nurturing, always hugging, but the bills are always late, rent unpaid, sometimes no food. That kid learns love is important, but the security is fragile. Remember this, a secure foundation is what every child needs in order to explore the world. Without both nurture and provision, we cling, detach, or overcompensate as adults. Now, if you happen to grow up with a provider parent, but not necessarily, a nurturing one, love kind of feels tied to performance. You grind, you hustle, you check off the achievements, but inside, you still ask, am I enough without the achievements? If you had a nurturer, but not a provider, love may feel abundant, but stability may feel, fragile. Now, this can show up as overworking to prove your worth, attracting emotionally unavailable partners, and finding difficulty in resting or just feeling safe in your own life. Bell Hook's book, All About Love, said this: love and abuse cannot coexist, and in parenting, neither can love and neglect. To lay it out plain and clear, emotional neglect isn't about intention, it's about absence, the absence of the connection. Just because you weren't abused or neglected physically doesn't mean you weren't emotionally starving. Therapy and self reflection helped me name this. It's called emotional abandonment. My parents were there, but not emotionally. They didn't see me. I didn't feel safe enough to show them who I really was, like a lot of you. But once I allowed myself to grieve what I didn't get, something shifted. That little boy inside of me finally got seen, finally got heard, because I saw him. I started to reparent myself. And reparenting yourself simply means talking to the younger version of yourself, saying the things and providing to yourself now what you were missing then: compassion, affection, nurturing, attention, whatever it is that you needed then. It's about challenging the narrative that independence equals strength. True strength is asking for help. Reparenting is building safety in your nervous system, being both the nurturer and the provider for yourself, showing up for yourself in a totally new way, or showing up for your kids in a totally different way. Now I want you to reflect on your own life. Now that I told y'all out of my business. So try this exercise out. It really helped me reparent myself and put things in a clear perspective. Step 1, start with awareness. Identify the roles your parents play in your life and be honest with yourself. This can lead to a totally new development in healing for your entire family. And y'all know we need the healing for the family going on. Step 2, give yourself what you didn't get. This is doing the work, journaling, therapy, self-soothing, getting a financial coach if you need to, learning more about financial literacy, whatever it takes. Because like I said, if you were raised by the nurturing parent, you probably didn't have the stability. The point of this step is, in whatever area that you feel like you're missing, whether it's the nurturer or the provider aspect, flip the script and give yourself what you did not get. Step 3, learn balance, especially if you have kids. Because if you're working 24/7, but you're neglecting your child, there's going to be a disconnect. And what you don't want is for that child to grow up and be unavailable or feeling like they can't connect because they don't know how, or they don't feel like it's important to you. So find balance. Now, step 4, be the fucking cycle breaker. Whether or not you have kids, your energy, your boundaries, and your presence influence others, all those around you, and those you may meet. Set the tone. This is who I am. This is how I show up. And let that lead you. Now I want to ask you, do you feel like you grew up with a nurturing parent, a provider parent, both, or neither? And how do you feel like that is shaping your adulthood in the way you're showing up, in your relationships, the way you parent your kids, the overall connection that you may have with your kids, or lack thereof? I want you to sit with your answers. And during this time, you are allowed to feel hurt. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to reparent yourself. We as millennials are the generation focused on balance right now. The generation that refuses to accept survival without connection or connection without stability. We want wholeness. We want it all. And we deserve it because we're not settling for what was passed down to us. We are changing the narrative. And maybe that's the most powerful part of this journey, realizing that what we didn't get growing up, we can give that to ourselves right now and do things differently. We didn't just want food as kids. We wanted safety. We wanted connection. We wanted to feel held, not just handled. We wanted love that didn't have to be earned by just running errands or cleaning up. Once I started to really pour into myself, I saw the shift, and now it's your turn. We get to create the kind of love for ourselves, for our inner child. And that's the best feeling. The whole purpose of this podcast is to make you guys think differently, elevate your consciousness, and really start to look at yourself on a deeper level. I hope it's helping. And before we close out, I want you to take 3 to 5 minutes to do something powerful. I want you to actually meet your inner child and start giving yourself the love and support you might not have received growing up. If you're driving or somewhere you can't close your eyes, just visualize and listen along. If you can, find a quiet spot and breathe deeply. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath in and let it out slowly. Another deep breath. Feel your body in the chair, your feet on the ground. And notice you're safe right now. Whatever happened in the past, it stays in the past. This moment is only for you. Now picture yourself as a child. How old are you? What do you look like? What expression do you see on your face right now? Just notice, without judgment. Now take a mental snapshot. This is the part of you that may have needed more nurture, more stability, or both. Now imagine yourself kneeling down and sit right next to your inner child. Take a moment, and I want you to speak to them. Tell them you are loved, you are seen, you are protected, and your feelings are valid. Now I want you to notice how it feels to say these words to yourself as the adult you are right now. Let your inner child hear the care and validation they may not have gotten. Now, shift into your inner provider. Ask yourself, what do you need to feel safe and supported? How can I help you stand tall in this world? Maybe it's structure, discipline, or even permission just to rest. Give yourself a promise. I will show up for you. I will take care of you. Feel the security that comes from making this promise to yourself. To your inner child. Now I want you to take a final deep breath and thank your inner child for showing up. Now I want you to know that this is just the beginning, and you can return to them anytime you need. You are both the nurturer and the provider that you needed. You got this. I'll see you in the next episode.